Gareth, it was weird because even without the knockdown, I would have already given the performance its due praise. But I think getting the stoppage when no one has ever done that to Joseph Parker, it just puts the cherry on top, doesn't it? I mean, it gets you excited about what he could do against your Wilders, your AJs, your Usyks, and your Furies just by getting the stoppage.
Yeah, it's a huge statement of his power, resilience, will to finish, and how he actually goes about people. That's why that moniker, that ring sobriquet of the Juggernaut, is so right, and he proves it every time. It's not there's nothing fake about it. It's genuine. He is physically, I mean, again, at 37, he was 37 on September the 29th. Sorry, on September the 19th, rather. He lives up to that reputation, and it's fearsome. You at the top of the show, you mentioned how there are parallels with the physicality of George Foreman.
Yeah,
and there's no question about it. And when you stand next to Joe, he's a big 6'7" as well, broad, huge. He was the heaviest of his career, weighing in 271 pounds. Didn't seem to take anything away from him.
Yes,
he took massive shots from Joseph Parker. In fact, if anything, there was a quadruple left hook, a la Joe Frazier at one point, late in a round, from Joseph Parker on Joe Joyce, and he just stood there and took it, and as if it was nothing. He just swallows up punches that may catch him out in the end against the very biggest punchers. But I can't stress it enough. No wonder Frank Warren was grinning from ear to ear on Saturday night. He has got, with the developing Daniel Dubois, with Tyson Fury at the top and Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce in the middle, three of the most thrilling, potentially exciting heavyweights in the world there as a trio. Joe Joyce is special. There's no doubt about it. He's a force of nature. That's how I'll put it. Force of nature that will not be denied.
Agreed. And I'm happy you mentioned his weight there, because obviously, look, he came in at 19 stone plus. And it's funny because we always talk about AJ's weight and, what's AJ's ideal weight, because, AJ's very muscle bound and the lactic acid. With Joe, he's a very... and people might take this the wrong way when I say the word I'm going to say, but it's a very natural 19 stone. And what I mean by that is it's not muscles, is it? It just like with AJ, you kind of feel like, okay, AJ's going to get tired. Joe seems to carry that weight so much better than any other heavyweight. And I agree about he's a force to be reckoned with. Like he has everything. Like he threw, and I saw a stat after the fight that he threw over 800 punches. And I was thinking, he's a 19 stone heavyweight.
Yeah.
So he's going to outwork you. 9 times out of 10, he's bigger and stronger than you. We know about the chin, which, it will catch up with him one day. It catches up with the best of them. But he also has an engine as well. So he's got everything, and watching that fight back, he's got a great jab. He looks like he's got slow feet, but what he really is doing is cornering you, almost a la Gennady Golovkin, the way he seems to kind of just work you into a corner where you feel like, I should be able to get out of this, but I can't. I mean, a very, very dangerous heavyweight. And we mentioned his age, but until, I think we almost need to park that now, because until I start to see it slowing him down as a reason to kind of mention his age, if someone told you Joe Joyce is 32, you'd believe it. There's nothing about him that looks like a 37-year-old man slowing down. If anything, his output over the last couple of years has got better. And I just feel like Frank must be, honestly, as you say, grinning from ear to ear. You've got Joe Joyce, and how many win the AO Arena? 14, 15,000 potentially?
Yeah, it was a good crowd. It was a really good crowd. Just to recap on a couple of things you mentioned, a consultant neurosurgeon, one of the brilliant brain specialists in the UK, Peter Hamlin, very old friend of mine I've worked with for many years, testifies that heavyweights in their 20s don't have the bone density that they do in their 30s. So I think that helps Joyce in some ways. He hasn't got a lot of miles on the clock. And you mentioned the punch stats there. I've got them here, okay, according to CompuBox. Joe Joyce landed 308 of 844 punches thrown, landing 37%, including 96 body shots. Yeah. Parker landed 147 of 56, 26%. Joyce had a significant advantage in punches, landed from the 6th round onwards. And we said, I mean, I picked Joyce to win. I'm not crowing about that, but I just think he's got something special about him. And I thought he'd come late in the fight. But how significant is it that we thought the punch output would be higher from Joseph Parker, but it clearly wasn't in the end?
No, honestly, I think, look, in hindsight, it's a beautiful thing. But as soon as I saw Joseph Parker weigh in, career heaviest, and look, I speak to Andy Lee quite a lot. I was like, have they got it wrong here? They almost weighed in at that weight to almost go toe to toe with Joe Joyce, whereas I thought he'd be moving around and
very soon Parker was defending off the ropes, wasn't he?
Yeah.
For much of the fight, he was having to defend off the ropes because it didn't matter what he hit Parker with, he just couldn't. When he hit Joyce, he couldn't keep him off. There were a couple of rounds where you saw the game plan. He timed Joe Joyce, and Joyce couldn't hit him. He timed him off the ropes and in the middle, and it was beautiful. They were really clear rounds for Parker, but he couldn't sustain it because, as you rightly said, it must break your heart when someone keeps coming forward like that and you're hitting them with your best shots.
Yeah, indeed. Realistically, and look, we know he's the WBO interim champion, and in an ideal world, he wants Usyk, right? That's the fight they seem to be asking for now, whereas Usyk seems to favor maybe waiting for Fury, AJ, or Wilder. Realistically, what fight do you think Joe Joyce has next?
Well, weirdly and realistically, it can play out that he's the interim champion. If Fury and Usyk fight next year, right, and they walk away, he could be installed as the champion.
Yeah, elevated.
Weirdly, which it's not satisfactory, that, but who does he fight next? Oh my God, they could throw him in with anyone. But I mean, God,
who wants that next?
It might be Manuel Char.
yeah,
because Manuel Char's revealed today that he was signed by Queensberry to fight either Tyson Fury, Joe Joyce, or Daniel Dubois.
Okay, well, it could be then. I mean, if you're Joe Joyce as well, you've got the not an excuse, but if you're frank, you've got, well, no one wants to fight Joe Joyce, so we have to get him someone. And look, there isn't going to be a queue to fight him, but I can almost see Usyk, not through fear, but I can almost see Usyk dumping the WBO belt and they elevating Joe Joyce to be a world champion. And I can't ever remember a time where Britain's had so many heavyweights in the top 10 ever. Well, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's 4 or 5 or 6, isn't it? The thing is that what they could do, Joe could, it depends if he wants to fight again, earn more money. Because the likelihood is, well, again, we're sitting waiting to see if, even though I know we'll get into it, it all plays out on this chessboard at the moment. The next moves that happen around Dillian White as one, and we'll come to that in a bit. Dillian White, I think he's a viable opponent. Dillian White is a free agent, isn't he? Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, and Alexander Usyk. And maybe where Deontay Wilder goes next. If Deontay Wilder fancied a fight with Joe Joyce, that's massive in the UK.
Oh, my Lord.
I know, it's a massive.
Oh, my Lord. If Deontay Wilder travels over here to fight Joe Joyce, oh, Lord.
There are loads of options, basically.
Take my money now. Whatever it is, I'm paying to watch Joe Joyce Wilder. Quick one on Joseph Parker. Look, hopefully it's a long rest because, you know, as a fan of his, those last few rounds were kind of hard to watch, and credit to him, he never gave up. What would you do with him now, aside from take 6, 7, 8 months, whatever he needs to take to heal mentally and physically? After that, again, look, he's in the heavyweight division where there are so many good fights. He's only 30. There's loads of things lined up for him in the future, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's got to recover. I mean, for the moment, he becomes a nearly man in the talks of the top 5 or 6. You know, and again, with his, I think it was his left eye closing and his right eye seeping claret all over his face. He's got that cut's got to recover. He's got to recover from, as we said, 308 punches, 96 body shots from that behemoth juggernaut. So He's still an ambitious guy, but like you say, I think maybe 8 months, even a year out.
Yeah.
Now, and you know, Dillian White fight again is there. They had war the last time they were in the ring together, so that would be a great fight. But I don't really know the route for Joe at the moment. Just, you know, a bit of peace rather than war, I think.
Indeed. I mean, Andy Ruiz potentially as well. They had a good fight in New Zealand years ago. Andy wants that get back. So loads of fight, loads of money on the table as well. But health comes first. He does need a big rest.